Welcome. So I just made it back, not back home, but back to an Airbnb on the way home from a backpacking trip in Isle Royale National Park. It was a 4-day, 3-night backpacking trip. In this video, I'm just going to go over everything I brought as I'm unpacking my bag to kind of reorganize everything before continuing on my journey back home. With that, let's get into it. All right. So this is the pack that I brought with me. It was right around 30 pounds when I weighed it, but after that I added a few additional food items and a book and a notebook. So it was probably a little bit over 30 pounds. I will start with what's on the top here. So this is the sleeping pad that I used. It's a Thermarest sleeping pad that just folds and unfolds really easily, so I don't have to worry about blowing anything up when I get to a campsite or deflating it in the morning. So I found this to be really helpful. It was even easy enough to just kind of take off the top of my pack and throw it down as a seat if I wanted to stop and take a break for a snack or something like that. So definitely appreciated having this. It kept me warm enough at night, although if you were somewhere really cold, it might not be warm enough to use there. The next thing we'll start with just what's in the front ties here. So this is my rain jacket, which I love, which honestly didn't get a lot of use on the trail because it really didn't rain when I was in Isle Royale, which was a nice surprise. I was anticipating it might rain at least for a little bit, but it really didn't. I've used this at other points on this trip and prior to this trip. So it's a Patagonia rain jacket, very lightweight, very waterproof. I've worn it in pretty heavy rainfall and haven't gotten wet, so it was a good thing to bring along on this trip. Let's see, in the side pockets I brought 2-liter smart water bottles that are now both empty, but these served me well. Bug spray, compass, which luckily I didn't have to use it all, but always good to have. Pepper spray, again, did not have to use this. Not really for animals as much as people, and I didn't really anticipate there being any problems in the national park, especially because it's so isolated, but I figured it was small and easy enough to bring. So to the other side, I had flip-flops hooked to my bag that I used whenever I got to campsites and was ready to take off my tennis shoes. They're just like my standard flip-flops that I bring everywhere. Not the most lightweight, but it really wasn't too big of an issue. I guess the one thing that would have been nice was if they were the kind of flip-flop that didn't have like a toe prong, because then it wouldn't be as awkward when I'm wearing them with socks because it's cold, but it worked out fine. I have some leftover trash from my trip and toilet paper. On Isle Royale, you have to pack out all your trash if you're able to, just to minimize what they have to remove from the island itself. Sunscreen for my body, 55. Let's see, I think that was everything in these front 2 or side pockets. So then in this front pocket here, I have my water filtration system. I have the Sawyer squeeze. I brought along the syringe that's used to kind of back flush it or clean out the dirty water from the filter, as well as an extra bag and some extra screw caps and things like that. I really didn't need all of that. I also have my chlorine water purification tablets in there. You need to both filter your water and use some kind of water purification tablet. Either that, or you can use a few other different water purification methods, such as boiling at a rolling boil for 1 minute, which I did in some cases, but even then I still filtered my water before I boiled it, just in case there was any crud in there, to make sure that was all removed. The other piece of my water filtration setup was this CNOC gravity water filter bag, which was really nice to just kind of fill up, have hanging around for easy access to more water when I needed it. And then this was kind of a non-necessary thing, but this is my Ziploc that has my notebook and a book to read, and then I also use this Ziploc to store the maps that I picked up at the visitor center of Isle Royale. Hand sanitizer. I think that's everything in the front pack. So now I'll talk about the pack itself, which has worked out super well. This is an unpack pack. Unpack is a backpack making company that specializes in lightweight backpacks for hiking and backpacking. If you want, they will actually make custom packs that have color specifications and other types of accessory specifications. I went with the kind of ready-made Mo pack, so it's a Mo 50-liter pack. It's fairly water resistant, and then they also sell linings, bag liners that help add additional protection from rain or water. It has really nice sturdy pockets, as well as this kind of unique bottom pocket that I use to store snacks, and towards the end of my trip, more trash. That came in really handy. It was really easy to kind of throw your bag down on the trail and then just reach in and grab out whatever you needed without having to open everything up, which was a little bit more of a hassle. And to kind of flip it around to this side, it has two kind of smaller pockets for storing things like I used for my phone. This one I think has more trash in it now, but again, helpful for things like snacks or other things that you want to have nearby. Actually, it's not trash, it's leftover trail mix, which I will set aside for later. Otherwise, on the front of the pack, there are the straps, and then there are these nice adjuster straps that you can kind of pull towards you to secure the top of the pack and kind of make sure it's nice and tight with your back. Inside of the pack, there's a frame that you can kind of mold or fit to the shape of your back, or you can remove if it's not carrying a lot of weight. It has this nice lower back pad at the bottom here, and then a nice hip belt that has dual adjusters, so you can adjust kind of in multiple places to ensure it has the right fit to kind of have the weight sit right or across your hips. And then of course a little strap across the top here. I rented a Garmin InReach device to have some additional security when I was on the trail since I was by myself, and I used it to contact my family at regular points to check in, and then also has features for alerting authorities and again family if you're in an emergency situation. It has additional features like checking the weather and like GPS location pinging and things like that, but I mostly used it for communications. I actually rented that through a company called Outdoor Equipment Rentals. They had it all set up, shipped it to me. I just was able to log in and then kind of customize some of the messages and things like that and get it all set up and then bring it with me. And then when I get back home, I'll ship it back out to them. So yeah, that worked really well. Also on the front of my pack, I clipped a whistle for safety and a mask. I think that's everything in the outside of my pack. I think it's about time to open it. It has a roll top closure, which I didn't roll super neatly on the way coming back. It also has these side straps that tighten your load down. So once you roll it, you can pull these straps to make sure it's nice and tight and secure. Let me just undo those. And let's see. So it has a snap top, the first thing. So this is the little bag that I had that sometimes I would keep on the outside of my pack too, but it just has essential things like more heavy duty bug spray, sunscreen for my face, camp soap, a lighter, which I didn't end up using but brought just in case, and then a pocket knife. Just kind of random useful things. Probably set this on the ground here. This is a Sea to Summit dry bag. I have 3 of them that I got in a set from REI and use them to store various things. So this green one here, I have my camp stove. I have an MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe camp stove, and this cooking pot came with it. It worked out really well. I didn't have any issues with getting the stove to work at all. It all kind of fits nicely inside. And in addition to the pot itself, there's a plastic container that you can use as a bowl or kind of an additional, not pot, but I used it for coffee. Cup, I guess, but just a very large cup. And this bag just has the fuel canister for that as well. I did bring 2 fuel canisters just because I had the smaller size and I wanted to make sure I would have enough. So then this blue bag is what I used for food. I would say I probably overpacked on food for the trip. I have a lot left over. They have also said that, you know, depending on the weather conditions on Isle Royale, you should plan that you may need to stay an extra day. Like if you took a seaplane, the seaplanes may not be able to run because of weather. If the weather's really bad and the lake's really crazy, the boat or the ferry that people take to the island might even be delayed a few days. So for that reason, and just, you know, in case something crazy happens and you can't make it back when you plan to, it's good to have additional food. One of the, I guess, like luxury or non-essential items, you could say non-essential, essential for me, is my AeroPress for making coffee every morning. So I brought that, as well as a mug. I didn't bring the lid, but I wanted a mug to drink out of to keep my coffee a little bit warmer in the morning versus just using the plastic cup. So again, non-essential, but worth it, I think so. And then this is the AeroPress stirrer that you use. If I was really thinking, like, you wouldn't need this and a camp spoon. Like, you could just use the camp spoon to stir the coffee grounds in the morning, and there's no reason to bring both things. But for some reason, I had in my mind, I'm bringing my AeroPress, I need to bring all the things that I normally need for my AeroPress, and this is one of them. So I brought this. Seemed kind of silly when I thought about it, but because I forgot my camp spoon, this ended up coming in very handy because I used it as my utensil to eat all of my camp meals. So would I bring this again? No, I would just bring a camp spoon, but I'm glad I didn't think that through enough this trip. And then I have some tea and filters for the AeroPress. The rest of the stuff in here is just extra food, so like granola bars, granola, a couple extra camp meals. I use this brand, bought a bunch of theirs through REI's website. I'm a little weird about meat, so I figured I probably wouldn't like freeze-dried meat or dried meat or whatever they use in normal people camping meals. Everything else I feel like is pretty standard in terms of, you know, camping food. This is my last of the smaller dry bags from Sea to Summit. So I have kind of random assortment of things. I brought battery pack, 2 battery packs for charging my phone, which I also use as my camera. So ran out of battery fairly quickly, but I used these packs to keep it charged. Cord. This had face wipes, body wipes, dry shampoo, which I forgot to bring a comb. So like, you can't really use dry shampoo if you don't have a comb to comb your hair. I like was using my fingers to comb my hair. I don't know if it was really worth it to bring. I was mostly wearing hats anyway, either to keep warm or to protect my face from the sun. Probably not essential. Toothpaste, toothbrush, just use my regular toothbrush. I'm a contact wearer, so I have my glasses for at night after I took my contacts out, or if there were any issues with my contacts. I have this headlamp, which honestly on Isle Royale I did not have to use very often because the sun set so late and rose so early at this time of year. 3 different settings. It doesn't have a red light, so that's the one downside. Because I wasn't using it very often, it wasn't a huge issue, but that would have been nice. An extra flashlight. Probably didn't need that with having a phone headlight, but you never know. This is a cord that could be used to charge the headlamp as well as the Garmin InReach. Didn't have to use that. The InReach stayed charged throughout the whole trip, so throughout the 4 days. A bunch of contacts to use. I always bring a bunch of extra contacts because you never know when one's gonna fall out or have some kind of issue. So that was everything in this bag. So this was the medical kit that I used. I didn't have to open it at all. I didn't have any injuries. The only injury I've had on this trip so far was cutting myself shaving like before I even got to Isle Royale. So my hat for when it was cold. I also kind of used this as like a pillow. I don't know, when I slept at night, I used mostly my jacket as a pillow, but then having the hat on my head had a dual function of keeping me warmer and providing extra cushioning. It's a pretty soft hat. So next is kind of clothes. So right now I'm wearing some of what I brought. My hat, this is one of my favorite hats. It's my commonplace coffee hat, Pittsburgh Coffee Company, that I'm obsessed with still, even though I haven't lived in Pittsburgh for 3 years. It's my Patagonia puffer jacket. It's super warm, super lightweight. Again, I used it kind of as a jacket, also as a pillow. So it was really great to have on the trail. Has 2 pockets as well as a pocket up here that I used for my car key and my plastic bag wallet. I'm actually wearing my pajamas right now. I had one set of clothes that was my day hiking clothes, one set of clothes that was my sleeping clothes. The last day I just stayed in my sleeping clothes since they were much cleaner and less smelly than my day hiking clothes. So to sleep I have this Smart Wool thermal base layer, which kept me really warm. I have some leggings that I've had for years. I wore just some running shoes that I have had for a while. So these are my Mizuno running shoes that I love. I have weird arches, so I didn't want to try anything too new. I didn't want to wear hiking boots in case it was rainy. Isle Royale can be very wet, so if you wear hiking boots and they get wet, they might be wet the entire trip. So I wanted to avoid being in that kind of situation. My feet didn't get wet until the last few hours. I was in the park. I went kayaking and I like intentionally stepped in the water to get in my kayak and out of my kayak. So my shoes were wet pretty much the whole boat ride back, or ferry ride back. Now they're pretty dry, so I guess the strategy does work. And then I just have some Smart Wool lightweight wool socks. I have some Patagonia hiking pants that were really nice. Honestly, it did a really good job keeping me warm when it was cold out in the morning, but also keeping me cool when it got hotter throughout the day and was sunny. I have this handy little pocket on the leg that I use for trash throughout the day as well. Oh, I think there's still some trash in there. Just for like the little things like tops of dried fruit packages or whatever. And then I use just an Under Armour sports bra and short sleeve shirt, quick drying type material. I had this kind of pullover shirt from REI that has UV protection. That was really nice to wear even when it was sunnier and hot out. It was nice to just have that protection from the sun and still feel fairly cool. My pair of socks that I use for hiking, also Smart Wool. Getting down to the last few things here. This is my sleeping bag that I used. Oh, what company made this? Evolution. Equipment Evolution. Enlightened Equipment. It's really a sleeping quilt. It's from Enlightened Equipment, which is a company based out of Minnesota, which is cool. I spent time in Minnesota, so I like that I'm supporting a business from that state. It's rated for 10 degrees. It kept me super warm while I was on the trail. And then this is my tent. So this is the Trail Hut 2-person tent from REI. I did not use this at all on Isle Royale. Every campsite I went to had an open shelter by the time I got there, so I didn't have to select any tent camping sites. So my pack would have been a lot lighter if I hadn't brought this. This is definitely the heaviest thing in my pack. It's not a super lightweight tent, it's kind of middle of the road. That said, would I bring it again if I was doing the same trip? Yes, because you never know when the shelters are going to be full. Just a few more things way down at the bottom. I bought an extra emergency rain poncho. Didn't really rain, didn't need that. Probably wouldn't have needed it anyway. I brought hand warmers, because I was worried about it being cold. Didn't need these at all, didn't use any of them, but I don't know if that would have really helped. I brought some gloves, which again, didn't need. A pair of shorts, which I didn't use. The last thing is this lightweight cord string. I didn't need this. When I got to the island, they said you don't need to hang your food as long as it's in a bag that will keep the scent contained. And with that, that is everything that I brought with me on my backpacking trip to Isle Royale. I think I had what I needed, at least for this trip, at least for this weather. It worked out seamlessly. Probably brought a few things I didn't need. Forgot my spoon, but it was okay. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions.